Hello everyone, welcome back to Dprieto TV. We are back with Prietology Season 4. We are in Episode 2. Sorry for the long delay in videos. As you see, I've been on vacation for like about 3 weeks and I uploaded the vacation video. So yeah, we are back to the normal upload of things and we are back with Prietology. Today's topic, like I mentioned in previous episode about 3 months ago, go check it out up there. The geography game. We're talking about geography today, and that's why today's item of the day, it's a world map, the countries of the world. We'll be talking about latitude, longitude, time zones, equators, tropics, how the light of the sun alters, how the light of the sun affects time and stuff like that. So yeah, we'll go into that. Like I said during the vacation video, there will be no F1 review. Didn't really work out. Episode 3 and future videos will be discussed at the end of the video. So yeah, we haven't done this in a while, so yeah, I'm excited to be back. Let's go over key terms. So yeah, this episode is actually going to be quite short. We're on episode 2 of, I think, 6? Yeah, we only got 4 key terms today, but we're going to do a little demonstration of my little demonstration of how the sun's light affects things like seasons, latitude, longitude. Anyway, we'll get into that later. And usually what I'm going to try to do for every episode now in this season, I'm going to try to do a demonstration per video. So stay tuned for that. Yeah, only 4 terms today. Longitude, latitude, I have to remember to say those right. Longitude, latitude, equator, and tropics. Yeah, let's begin. Where did I put the remote? Oh, there it is. Alright, our first term. It's the first of our, as I call it, the Earth twin. I don't know. First of all, longitude. It's 24 vertical lines on the Earth. Does it have it on this map? No. 24 vertical lines on the Earth called meridians that are measuring the globe east and west. They can help really calculate the distance of the Earth, which is like the cumulative distance, so essentially the size. If you add up the space between 24 meridians, 24 pieces of one whole, essentially, you can calculate the distance of the Earth. You just got to know the segments. There is something called the prime meridian, which is the prime meridian that runs exactly through the middle of something called Greenwich, which you've probably seen as GMT time, Greenwich Mean Time. It's at 0 degrees. Neither east nor west. Is exactly in the middle of the Earth, the exact middle of the time, and anything to the west. So it would be. So like, if this is the Greenwich Mean Time, then starting this way, it would be 10 degrees west, 20 degrees, 30 degrees west. And so this side, it'd be 10 degrees, 20, 30, until you make a full 180 degrees. 90 degrees would be the other side of the prime meridian, and then getting all the way 100 degrees to the other side of the Earth would, again, be the prime meridian. East, like I said, is time going forward, and west is time going backwards. So I'm currently in Arizona in the United States, in Phoenix. Time is backwards by, currently right now where I'm at is 4:14 p.m. It's currently, I think it's at 11, it's about 11 p.m. So currently, if we do the math, how far behind are we? We are 5, 6, 7, we are 6 behind Greenwich Mean Time. So how that would usually be written, it'd be -6, and then so it'd be, if this is the prime meridian, it'd be -1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then 12, and then the other side would be +1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, that's essentially how they work. Fun facts! This was actually measured first. The first accurate measurement of this was made by John Harrison in 1737. Wow, that's pretty good for that time to measure the meridians. And find out how time is altered, so daylight savings times and all that stuff. Yeah. Let's move on to the second term. Alright, second term. Holy mac, we're already halfway through. We're approaching halfway through. This one has some latitude. Get it? Yeah, that's a really bad joke. Latitude. It's got some attitude, so let's talk about it. Latitude is 5 horizontal lines compared to the 24 that make up the parallels to make up the meridians. That's why there's 24 hours in a day, because there's 24 meridians. There's only 5 latitude lines called parallels. These are measured in degrees, but this time instead of going east and west, it goes north and south. The most famous parallel that you guys probably know is called the equator. We'll talk about that in a bit. These really define the climate zones of the Earth. So the farther you get, so the highest of the lines is divided evenly into this, by the way. The highest of the lines is going to be colder, then hotter, 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 hotter until you get to the equator. Longest line, like I said, is the equator. Other zones between the lines are really called the climate zones, which are things like the tropics are between the equators. are between the equators and the lines above and below them. And then the top lines are the circles. That's why I've heard of something called like the Arctic Circle or the Antarctic Circle, because those are the bottom of the latitude lines. We'll talk about more about latitude and longitude this episode. So yeah, and then there's temperate zones between like the equator and the tropics. So between, let's say we have our 5 lines here. So here's the Arctic, one of the tropics, equator, tropic, and then circle. So like things between like the equator and the tropic and the lower tropic zone, that'd be like a hotter climate. But between the tropic and the Antarctic Circle, which is one, that's more of a temperate climate. That's the same with the higher tropic and the Arctic Circle. Like those are places like New York that has more temperate climate. Canada, northeast US, those have more temperate and more foresty climate. Fun fact, the latitude of New York City is, let's see if I wrote this down right, 40 degrees 47 minutes north. So essentially 47 degrees north, that is almost 90 degrees, which would be, so let's say this is our latitude line of the equator. This right here would be 90 degrees, right? This would be 90 degrees, so it's somewhere about here. It's kind of accurate. That was really inaccurate, but you get the idea. It's more of like in the temperate forest areas, which would make sense since it's in a higher parallel. The parallels do have names, so we'll go over that in a bit. Let's move on to the next term. Before we move on to the next term, I want to do the demonstration to see how like the sun's heat, the sun's light affects like things like latitude, longitude. So yeah, let's dim the lights. As you can see, it's kind of dark right now. I'm gonna get my flashlight. So I don't know if you can see my Earth, but now this is gonna represent my sun. I don't know if you can see that clearly, but there you go. There you see how it kind of like, so let me make it brighter. Oh no, can I make it brighter? Oop, that's too bright. There you go. Essentially, that's gonna represent my sun. So you see like, the Earth is obviously tilted to like act as seasons, but you see as it rotates around this part, obviously that is facing the darker side is much darker. As you can see, the part that is more to that side, and that's how the meridians are formed. The meridians are essentially according to like what's evenly dark and what's evenly bright. So essentially the parts that are farther in time are going to be more towards the night side. The parts that are more behind are going to be more towards the light side. I don't know if I'm rotating it the right way, but yeah. And as you can see also, the parts that are not as bright, so you see the part that is much brighter is the part with the equator. Now I'm talking about latitude. All the heat is concentrated in the equator, and the farther you go to the north or the south, the colder it'll get by the Antarctic and Arctic circles. So yeah, this is really how like the light of the Earth kind of like affects like the latitude and longitude of the Earth. It's all based on the sun. Alright, let's turn the lights back on. Alright, I hope that was a cool demonstration. Dominators with the equators. That was a really bad segue, but whatever. Equator. Up next is the middle line of the Earth, the exact 0 degree latitude. 0 degree latitude of latitude. It's, how much is it longitude? Longitude, well, it really just depends where you are on the equator. You're essentially going to be north of the equator, and longitude south of the equator. It depends where you are. The hottest parts of the equator are in the middle, and then when you get to both hemispheres, the hemispheres are the things the equator separates. So northern is north of the equator, south is south of the equator. The hottest parts, so like the deserts and like the Atacama Desert in South America, the Sahara, in Africa, the like Malaysian islands, Indonesian islands, they pass through that, Papua New Guinea, all those like Asian, like Southeast Asian islands, more tropical climates, are located more near the equator. It's farther than any pole from any other equator, from any other parallel, so farther than the tropics, than the circle. Well, the circles are closer to the poles. We'll talk about poles in a little bit. Oh, I forgot to put a fun fact on the thing. Anyway, we'll talk about, actually there's a 5th fun fact on there. So yeah, we'll talk about that in a bit. The equator essentially is the farthest from each pole. The poles are at the top of the Earth. We'll talk about that later. Fun fact about the equator, our grand line or glorious line. The number of countries it crosses, 13. Let's see how many I can name. I'll put the list up here. These are all the countries that it crosses. Is Ecuador on the list? I think so. Equatorial Guinea. Venezuela? Maybe. Malaysia? Maybe. not the US. Kenya? I think so. Anyway, there's a lot of them, as you can see. So yeah, penultimate term now, since we actually have 5 terms. Hey, you want to know a hot topic? The tropics. It is term number 4. I've been mentioning this a lot, so let's just start talking about it. There are different lines of parallels. There's the parallels, I'm looking at my map. Yeah, the ones just above and just below the equator. So the second and the fourth of the parallel lines of the latitude. They are called Cancer, not as in like the disease, but as in the zodiac sign. So Cancer, the crab, as the northern one. So the one closest to like the US. And Capricorn is the one below the equator, which is Capricorn the goat or ram. No, Aries is the ram. Capricorn, I think, is the goat. I think, yeah. Cancer is north, Capricorn is south. The tropics between these two, the tropics are the regions between Cancer and Capricorn, so that's why they're called tropics. So the top one is known as the Tropic of Cancer, and the bottom one is known as the Tropic of Capricorn. Those ones are only known to have 2 seasons. So basically, right now, I am currently, if I look at my map, yes, I am right now in the region of the Tropic of Cancer. We really only have 2 seasons here in the U.S. We really just have a summer and a winter. That's really it. It just gets hot and a little less hot. That's really also the bottom in like places like, I'm looking at my map down here. Places like Argentina or Chile or Paraguay, they really only have like a summer and a bit-ish of a winter. So yeah, and places like below the Arctic Circle and above the Cancer have 4 seasons, like places like New York, Canada, Alaska. They have more seasonal things. While places, and also like below the Antarctic Circle, the places above the Antarctic Circle and below the Tropic of Capricorn have more of a 4 seasons climate. Like, looking at my map, like southern Chile, and like the Falkland Islands have more of a 4 seasons, like summer, winter, fall, and spring. Fun fact: the distance between the 2 tropics, Cancer and Capricorn, 3,000 miles. That is a lot. All right, we got one final term to go. Poles. We've talked about the equator, the things above them. Now we talk about the ends of the earth. Literally, the top and bottom of the earth. The poles, the top and bottom parallels. The Antarctic is at the bottom, Antarctica. The Arctic Circle is at the top, near the Arctic Ocean. North, south. Very cold and icy climates, as many people know, due to a lack of sunlight. Like we saw in my demo, I'll put the clip up here really quick. You didn't see much sunlight hitting the top or the bottom because, yeah, not much sunlight hits those places, which makes it more colder. Both contain the polar regions of just the Arctic Circle, which is just ice, so like icebergs and ice sheets and ice caps just everywhere you can find. And the Antarctic Circle is more of a continent, so there's more, it's snowy, it's a desert, I think actually, it's classified as a desert. So there's more of a mountain regions. Obviously there's snow and ice and icebergs everywhere. But there's also like mountains covered in snow and stuff like that. Yeah. Both are at 90 degrees latitude. So if we think of our latitude line, this is our equator. If we go down all the way, it's 90 degrees south. If we go back to our equator and we go all the way up, it's 90 degrees north. Fun fact, the coldest, guess which one's the coldest? I'll give you a bit. The coldest is the South Pole, actually. Coldest is Antarctica, because if you think about it, if the tilt of the Earth is like this, if it's kind of like 23.5 degrees, I think, the Arctic Circle is going to face a little more sun than the Antarctic, because if it rotates like this, the Antarctic Circle barely gets any heat, and it's going to be more colder since it's near the bottom. More light is going to be able to reach the top region more than the Antarctic region, which is the South Pole. Yeah, let's annotate the map a bit just to get some more familiar use of both longitude and latitudes. Alright, so now that we've learned about all the longitude, latitude, equator, tropics, and poles, let's start annotating. So the longitude lines, let me find Greenwich. It's in the UK. It's about here. So I'm typing right here. So it's basically just a vertical line going that way, and a vertical line going that way. And then there's 12 on this. It's evenly divided into 24, essentially, pieces. Now let's get to the more important stuff. Let's get to the latitude. As you can find, let's find our 5 lines. So here would be the equator. Ecuador, Colombia, Brazil. Doesn't pass through Venezuela. This is the equator. This is the equator. This is our Tropic of Capricorn. Below this, so like in this region between this and this is more of a tropical climate, more of just a 2 seasons. So places like Brazil, Southern Africa, like Angola, Namibia, Australia, like I said, the Indonesian islands, more tropical Asian islands, more of those like more of like a tropical like 2 season climate. Below that we have our Antarctic Circle. This is more of a 4 seasons climate, so like places like New Zealand and Argentina, South Africa, and then really the Falkland Islands. And below that is just ice and snow, so just draw snowfall. That's ice and snow. And now we go above the equator, we see that we have the Tropic of Cancer. This is also another 2 seasons thing, so places like Saudi Arabia, India, Mexico, Mauritania, Niger, Sudan, Yemen. Those are more places, more of like a 2 climate thing. You can essentially pull in Arizona into that place because I'm right here. No, that's not Arizona. Never mind. Arizona's right there. That is essentially Arizona, more of a deserty climate, only 2 seasons. And then let us find the Arctic Circle is right here. As you can see, between this and the Arctic Circle, it's more of a temperate climate. So places like Canada, New York, Kazakhstan. Europe essentially is a temperate forested climate. China. And then above you see places like Svalbard, Greenland, northern Canada, Russia. Those are more of an Arctic climate, which is up here. This is all Arctic Circle. As you can see, it says Arctic Ocean right there. This is all ice and snow and icebergs as far as the eye can see. Whew. All right. Let's do our announcements. Alright, announcements. These are a bit outdated since I made this presentation a while ago, but let's see what we can do. Reminder, there will be no F1 review. That will not happen due to complications. Next episode, let me check my calendar. Next episode is going to be on August 20th, which I will discuss a bit later. And then after that, I might just start going back to like doing gaming every other weekend, every other video. So like you would do Prietology gaming, and it goes on and on. Yeah, the first travel video, all that stuff. Yeah, it's a bit a while ago. Okay, episode 3 of I think 6 will be about geography again, but we're not doing latitude, longitude, and a bunch of other stuff again. We're doing essentially what would be part 2. I'm doing this back to back. This is not back to back like week, but next video will be in 2 weeks. It'll be about landforms, so things like continents, mountains, rivers, plateaus. I have to look at the presentation again. So yeah, continents, plateaus, we're going to go into the landforms, how they affect climate and stuff like that. Get excited for that in 2 weeks on August 20th. Not August 20th, but August 21st. Yes, I'm looking at my F1 calendar. August 21st, expect it. So yeah, everyone, thanks for watching. I'll see you in 2 weeks for Prietology Season 4, Episode 3. See ya. I'll see you in 2 weeks.